Sadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswati Vyasam Tato Jayam Mudiriyet. नष्टप्रायेषु अभद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भवति उत्तम श्लोके भक्तिर्भक्ति नैष्टिकी. ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय. ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय. ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय. All right, so we'll continue our discussion on Srimad Bhagavatam Canto 2, Chapter 2, The Lord in the Heart. So we did up to verse number 17 yesterday. So we'll continue from 18. Yeah, we'll continue from 18. So this section is going on. The section is from which is 15 to 21 is practice and process of living of an advanced yogi. So we heard that how the yogi has to have, like the one who is not so mature in the yoga practice, they have to think of which time to leave and all that. But the other yogis, they don't have to. They are because they are always fully absorbed in the Supreme Lord, so they don't have to worry about what time they pass from this mortal world or what time they don't and all that stuff. So yeah, and also we heard that how the yogi, the one who is fully absorbed, first their mind is fully absorbed and their soul is fully absorbed in the super soul, and then they are completely fully in the supreme stage of satisfaction. So and because they are fully absorbed in the Supreme Lord, so they completely have no other activities but unalloyed devotional service. So that important point was there, that how when one is such absorbed, then they are not the seer of the Lord, but they are seen by the Supreme Lord, and then when they are seen by the Supreme Lord, they act as dictated by the super soul from within their heart. So that was such a inspiration. So it's just like however much devotion we have, according to that our senses and our activities will be controlled by the Supreme Lord. Like, pure devotees, they are completely dictated by the Supreme Lord what to do and what not to do. And then we also heard that when one is in such kind of absorption, of complete absorption in the super soul, that was the term used was labdhop shanti. So then actually on those there is no effect of the devastating time, the time which controls even the demigods and everything, but for them there is no effect of the time, no influence of the time, because they are completely transcendental, and the time in the material world is actually have impact of modes of material nature, but for them, they are completely transcendental, there is no impact. So now let's start from verse number 18. So let me share my screen. Someone wants to read?
I can read, Mataji.
Yeah, go ahead, Mataji. I'm sharing 1 second. You start.
Okay, Mataji. Thank you, Hare Krishna.
Thank you.
Chapter number 2, verse number 18. Param padam Vaishnavam amnati tad yanneti netyat atad utsirskasvaha Vishriya duratmayam ananya sahudra rado pagyaraha padam pade. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki jai. The transcendentalists desire to avoid everything godless, for they know that supreme situation in which everything is related with the Supreme Lord Vishnu. Therefore, a pure devotee who is in absolute harmony with the Lord does not create perplexities, but worship the lotus feet of the Lord at every moment, taking them into his heart. Purport. In the Bhagavad Gita, Madhyama, my abode, is mentioned several times, and according to the version of the Supreme Personality of Godhead Sri Krishna, there exists the unlimited spiritual sky, wherein the planets are called Vaikunthas, or the abode of the Personality of Godhead. In that sky, which is far, far beyond the material sky, and it is sevenfold coverings, there is no need of the sun, of the moon, nor is there necessity of electricity for illumination, because the planets are self-illuminating and more brilliant than the material suns. Pure devotee of the Lord are absolutely in harmony with the personality of Godhead, or in other words, they always think of the Lord as their only dependable friend and well-wisher. They do not care for any mundane creature up to the status of Brahma, the Lord of the universe. Only they can definitely have a clear vision of the Vaikuntha planets. Such pure devotees, being perfectly directed by the Supreme Lord, do not create any artificial perplexity in the matter of transcendental understanding by wasting time in discussing what is Brahman and what is non-Brahman or Maya. Nor do they falsely think of themselves as one with the Lord, or argue that there is no existence of the Lord separately, or that there is no God at all, or that living beings are themselves God, or then what God incarnates himself, he assumes a material body. Nor do they concern themselves with many obscure speculative theories, which are in actually so many stumbling blocks on the path of transcendental understanding. Apart from the class of impersonalists or non-devotees, there are also classes who pose themselves as the devotees of the Lord, but at heart maintain the idea of salvation by becoming one with the impersonal Brahman. They wrongly manufacture their own way of devotional service by open debauchery and mislead others who are simpletons or debauchees like themselves. All these non-devotees and debauchees are, according to Vishwanath Chakravarti, duratmas or crooked souls in the dress of Mahatma or great souls. Such non-devotees and debauchees are completely excluded from the list of transcendentalists by the presentation of these particular words by Sukadev Goswami. So,
Haribo.
the Haribo.
Oh, sorry. I thought this is done. No,
No, we have one more paragraph.
yeah.
So the Vaikuntha planets are factually the supreme residential places called the Parampadam. The impersonal Brahma Jyoti is also called the Parampadam due to its being the rays of the Vaikuntha planets, as the sun rays are the rays of the sun. In the Bhagavad Gita, it is clearly said that the impersonal Brahma Jyoti rests on the person of the Lord, and because everything rests on the Brahma Jyoti directly and indirectly, everything is generated from the Lord. Everything rests on Him, and after annihilation, everything is merged in Him only. Therefore, nothing is independent of Him. A pure devotee of the Lord no longer wastes valuable time in discriminating the Brahman from non-Brahman, because he knows perfectly well that the Lord, per Brahman, by his Brahman energy, is interwoven in everything, and thus everything is looked upon by a devotee as the property of the Lord. The devotee tries to engage everything in his service and does not create perplexities by falsely loading it over the creation of the Lord. He is so faithful that he engages himself as well as everything else in the transcendental loving service of the Lord. In everything, the devotee sees the Lord, and in everything, the devotee sees the Lord, and he sees everything in the Lord. The specific disturbance created by Duratma or crooked soul is due to his maintaining that the transcendental form of the Lord is something material.
Haribo. You want to say something, Mataji?
Yes, Mataji, it's a long part, but like here, Srila Prabhupada explained that the pure devotees, that like transcendentalists, and also the Duratma. So all the devotees always think about the Vaikuntha planets, and they always think about Lord Sri Krishna, and they don't do any disturbance. They don't discriminate Brahman or non-Brahman. But the Duratma, they just think the Krishna is material, and so they don't believe in Krishna, and they want to merge in a Brahma Jyoti. And also the second paragraph, they explain about the Vaikuntha planets. how this the devotees said that Vaikuntha planets is the Parampadam, and
Mm.
also the impersonal Jyoti is also Parampadam.
Mm.
So yeah, so devotee wants to go to the Vaikuntha planets, and they think everything is emanates from Krishna. So they always see everything is in the. They use everything in the service of Krishna.
Mm.
So they said they said yeah, here the main thing. Yeah, the devotee sees the Lord and he sees everything in the Lord.
Mm.
Yeah, yeah,
Mm.
that's all.
So yeah, so basically the point here is, so we have been talking about those transcendentalists who are fully absorbed completely their mind and their soul in the super soul. Yeah, like 2 verses back we read that, and the time does not impact them. That's what we read in verse number, yeah, in verse number 17 we heard that the time does not impact. So it is still continuing on those yogis, those transcendentalists, that they do not waste their time. So in Nectar of Devotion, one of the symptoms of those, you must remember probably Barsana Mataji and Ganeshwar Prabhu, one of the symptoms of those who are in bhava level is that avyart kalatvam, they don't waste their time even a single moment, right? So this also, that is what is described here, that they don't waste their time in anything which is not related to the Supreme Lord, right? They only worship the Supreme Lord every moment. So fully they are absorbed in that worship and devotional service completely. And then their desire is only to that, this verse Srila Prabhupada is quoting here, Madham, that one, Natad bhasyate suryo na shashanko na pavaka tad gatva nani vartante tad parmam mama, right? That one where there is no need of the sunlight or moonlight. So that kind of, and after going there, nobody returns. So that verse Srila Prabhupada. So these pure devotees, their focus is that Supreme Lord, and they are always thinking of that Dham only, nothing else. Their vision of Vaikuntha planet is clear. So we see that how these Goswamis, Rupa Goswami, Sanatan Goswami, they were able to be in the pastimes of the Lord, right? Yeah, and also Srila Prabhupada here is mentioning some people, they are totally opposite, which they think that the Lord has a material body, and which is not good for us at all, right? That's what Srila Prabhupada is saying here. So yeah, and this paragraph Mataji already explained. So yeah, so basically when one is at that stage, then their whole thing is they don't waste time in anything. And also here it was saying they don't even want to discuss about Brahman. And so this Brahman is what is the effulgence of the body of the Lord. And in Bhagavad Gita 14:27, Krishna says Brahmano hi pratishtham. So basically it actually Brahman is coming from the Supreme Lord, the person. And these transcendentalists, the real yogis, they actually are focusing on that instead of Brahman or anything else. All right, so let's move on. Someone wants to read?
I can read, Mataji.
Yeah.
Itham munis tuparmed vyastito vigyana drigvirya suranidhi tasyaha swaparnashni pidya gudam tato anilam sthaneshu shashtasunmayej chita klamaha. Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. By the strength of scientific knowledge, one should be well situated in absolute realization and thus be able to extinguish all material desires. One then should give up the material body by blocking the air hole through which stool is evacuated with the heel of one's foot by lifting the life air from one place to another in the 6 primary places. Purport: there are many Duratmas who claim to have realized themselves as Brahman and yet are unable to conquer the material desires. In the Bhagavad Gita 18.54, it is clearly explained that an absolutely self-realized soul becomes completely aloof from all material desires. Material desires are based on the false ego of the living being and are exhibited by his childish and useless activities to conquer the laws of material nature and by his desire to lord it over the resources of the five elements. With such a mentality, one is led to believe in the strength of material science. With its discovery of atomic energy and space travel by mechanical vehicles, and by such tiny advancements in material science, the false egoist tries to challenge even the strength of the Supreme Lord, who can finish all man's tiny endeavors in less than a second. The well situated self, or Brahman realized soul, perfectly understands that the Supreme Brahman, or the personality of Godhead, is the all powerful Vasudev, and that he, the self realized living being, is a part and parcel of the Supreme Whole. As such, his constitutional position is to cooperate with him in all aspects in the transcendental relation of the served and the servitor. Such a self realized soul ceases to exhibit his useless activities of attempting to lord it over material nature. Being scientifically well informed, he fully engages himself in faithful devotion to the Lord. The expert yogi who has thoroughly practiced the control of the life air by the prescribed method of the yoga system is advised to quit the body as follows. He should plug up of the evacuating hole with the heel of the foot and then progressively move the life air and onto six places: the navel, the abdomen, the heart, the chest, the palate, eyebrows, and the cerebral pit. Controlling the life air by the prescribed yogic process is mechanical, and the practice is more or less a physical endeavor for spiritual perfection. In olden days, such practice was very common for the transcendentalist, for the mode of life and character in those days was favorable. But in modern days, where the influence of Kali age is so disturbing, practically everyone is untrained in this art of bodily exercise. Concentration of the mind is more easily attained in these days by the chanting of the holy names of the Lord. The results are more effective than those derived from the inner exercise of the life air. So here in the translation, it's being described how one should give up their life, saying in the process of yoga, when they are about to give, we saw how at the end of the life you to discard all the material desires. You're just concentrating on the Supreme Lord. And here, when you're about to give up the life, you're blocking your air hole. And then with the foot, you're blocking that, and it goes upwards from the navel and all the parts to the cerebral part, to the head. Because I also heard that when the life air goes to the head, it is the most auspicious thing. So this is being described, and here Prabhupada in the purport is mentioning that in today's age, Kali's age, it is very difficult to do this. We are not trained, our body is not trained to do all this. And in the prior days, it was favorable because everybody was trained in the Ashtanga yoga. Most people were, so they could do it. But in today's age, we don't have that austerity. We cannot do this much austere things. And then Prabhupada also mentions that that if we have any false this material desires are based on the false ego, and the person who is a real devotee does not they have conquered the material desires, and they're always happy, and they understand that they are the servant of the Lord, and they are the part and parcel of the Supreme Whole.
Yeah. So the main point is here, in any yoga practice, there is a requirement for sense control. Without controlling the senses, we cannot practice any yogic thing. But in case of bhakti, the thing is, when one engages in the devotional service of the Lord, automatically sense control happens, right? We do have to endeavor a little, but in here, in these kind of yogic practice, that one has to that is a prerequisite. But in devotional services, it is not prerequisite. It automatically happens, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. So that is that, and Srila Prabhupada rightly mentions in the end of the purport that it's not easy, and we should not endeavor for such. It's better to be in the bhakti part, right? Yeah. Okay. So let's go on to the next one.
Indeed, Mataji.
Yeah.
Thank you. Navyam stitam hindi adhiropya tasmad udaya gatyorasi tam yanye muni tato anusandaya diya manasvi swatalumulam sanakirnayata. Translation purport by Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. The medicated devotee should slowly push up the life air from the navel to the heart, and from there to the chest, and from there to the root of the palate. He should search out the proper places with intelligence. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. There are 6 circles of movement of life air, and the intelligent bhakti yogi should search out these places with intelligence and in a meditative mood. Among these mentioned above is the Swadhisthana chakra, or the powerhouse of the life air. And above this, just below the abdomen and the navel, is the Manipuraka chakra. When upper space is further searched out in the heart, one reaches the Anahata chakra. And further up, when the life air is placed at the root of the palate, one reaches the Vishuddhi chakra. Haribol.
Yeah.
So this is just a continuation.
Yeah.
Continuation of what the yogi must do.
Yeah, basically the yogic process of moving the life air in different chakras and bringing it to the top, right?
Mataji, when we go to this yoga places, when you talk to some of these people, they also say, okay, I'm doing this chakra and that chakra. Is this what they're doing?
Yeah, they are trying, but I think they are not properly doing it. Yes, they do try. But I think their conception of the super soul is not there in them.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I think they go to that. Yeah, that part, only the chakra part they do, but they don't tap into the heart, that super soul part.
Oh, okay.
As of my understanding. You try to ask them, okay, what do you mean by those chakras, and ultimately what is the final? Just ask them that they won't mention anything about super soul.
Right. Oh, okay.
So their understanding is completely, I don't think they have any conception of God and super soul and all that. So this, yeah, as of just maybe next time when you meet, try asking them. Yeah.
Right.
So
Mataji, they don't try to see the Paramatma in the heart. They just go through the chakras and just do that.
Yeah. Yes, that's what my understanding is. I might be wrong, but this is what I understand.
I have spoken to few. That's what it also seems like.
Yeah.
Some of them just want to see, like, concentrate on the light.
Yeah.
Different things.
Yeah. Yeah. That's what. Yeah. Okay. Someone wants to read the next verse.
Yes, Mataji, I can read.
Okay. Yeah, go ahead.
Tasmad Bruvo Arantar Munyet Niruddha Saptai no Napeksha Statva Muhurtard Adharma Kuntadrashti Nirbhidya Murdhanam Visarjijet Paramgata. Translation, purport by Srila Prabhupada. Prabhupada ki Jai. Translation. Thereafter, the Bhakti Yogi should push the life air up between the eyebrows, and then blocking the 7 outlets of life air, he should maintain his aim for going back home, back to Godhead. If he is completely free from all desires for material enjoyment, he should then reach the cerebral hole and give up his material connections, having gone to the Supreme. Purport. The process of giving up material connections and returning home back to Godhead, the Supreme, is recommended herein. The condition is that one should be completely freed from desires for material enjoyment. There are different grades of material enjoyments in respect to duration of life and sensual gratification. The highest plane of sensual enjoyment for the longest period of life is mentioned in Bhagavad Gita 9.20. All are but material enjoyments, and one should be thoroughly convinced that he has no need of such a long duration of life. Even in the Brahmaloka planet, he must return home back to Godhead and must not be attracted by any moment of material facilities. In Bhagavad Gita 2.59, it is said that this sort of material detachment is possible to attain when one is acquainted with the supreme association of life. Param Dratva Nivartate. One cannot be
Param drishtva nivartate.
Param Drishtva Nivartate. One cannot be freed from material attraction unless he has complete understanding of the nature of spiritual life. The propaganda by a certain class of impersonalists that spiritual life is void of all varieties is dangerous propaganda to mislead the living beings into becoming more and more attracted by material enjoyments. As such persons with profound of knowledge cannot have any conception of the Param, the Supreme. They try to stick to the varieties of material enjoyments, although they may flatter themselves as being Brahman realized souls. Such less intelligent persons cannot have any conception of the Param, as mentioned in this verse, and therefore they cannot reach the Supreme. The devotees have full knowledge of spiritual world, the personality of Godhead and his transcendental associations in unlimited spiritual planets called Vakuntha Lokas. Herein, Akuntha Drishtaha is mentioned. Akunta and Vaikuntha convey the same import, and only one who has his aim fixed upon that spiritual world and personal associations with the Godhead can give up his material connections even when living in material world. This Param and Param Dhama mentioned in several places in Bhagavad Gita are one and the same thing. One who goes to the Param Dhama does not return to material world. This freedom is not possible even by reaching the topmost look of the material world. The air life passes through 7 openings, namely 2 eyes, 2 nostrils, 2 ears, and 1 mouth. Generally, it passes to the mouth at the time of an ordinary man's death. But the yogi, as above mentioned, who controls the life air in his own way, generally releases the life air by puncturing the cerebral hole in the head. The yogi therefore blocks up all the above mentioned 7 openings so that the life air will naturally burst forth through the cerebral hole. This is the sure sign of a great devotee leaving the material connections.
You want to say something?
The explanation is about how the propaganda of certain impersonalists is pushing us or misleading us into becoming more attached to material enjoyments per se, instead of getting detached and going to the Brahmalok. I mean, not Brahmalok, the Vaikuntha. And as far as Param Drishta Nirvartate, they explained later that Akunta Drishta, which is Akunta and Vakunta, convey the same import. They're both the same, which is the spiritual world where personal association of Godhead can give up, where the personal association of Godhead is available for us. I guess basically it's explaining that, like you were saying before, that we are not able to do this kind of yoga. So we should not even try, as in Kali Yuga, that is not feasible for us.
Yeah, but for us, the thing is that Srila Prabhupada is mentioning in the purport that once we understand what is the spiritual world like, right? So then our attraction to spiritual world becomes so much that automatically we drop off the material enjoyment part. That is what Srila Prabhupada is writing in here. And only one who has his aim fixed upon the spiritual world and personal association with the Godhead can give up his material connection even while living in the material world. That's what the devotees do basically, because we are trying to develop that attachment to the Supreme Lord. So automatically there is no time for wasting time in the material sense enjoyment, right? So even though this process here is described about the yogis, but what is this? Is it saying that his aim for going back home, back to Godhead, and then because of that, he is able to give up the material connection, having gone to the Supreme. So if we are completely fixed up in that aim, our goal is fixed, then we won't deviate into different direction, in different distractions, right? And this part here that Srila Prabhupada, that Param Drishtva Nivartate, that verse that is in Bhagavad Gita 259, Vishya Vinivartante Niraharsha Dehinam Raso Varjam Apiyas, what is that? Raso Varjam Rasopiyasya Param Drishtva Nivartate. So meaning by developing the higher taste, we can let go of the lower taste basically, even though and in the purport of that verse, Srila Prabhupada writes that one who is diseased, who has some disease, they are asked to not eat certain things, but still they have the desire. That is a that. But if one has a higher taste for something, like we all have it so prasadam now, so we don't even feel like eating which is not yet offered to Krishna yet, right? So that if we develop that higher taste, then we can get free. We will be freed from that desire for sense enjoyment and the other things that are not conducive to our devotional services, right?
Mataji, I have a quick question.
Yes, Prabhu?
Mataji?
Yeah.
Why does it say in the translation
Bhakti Yogi?
the Bhakti Yogi?
Yeah. The moment I read the Mataji read this, I was also thinking. So, as of my understanding, Bhakti Yogi, because their aim is to attain the Supreme Personality of Godhead.
Okay, so this yogi who perfects his life, then he becomes a Bhakti Yogi.
Yes. And that is what Srila Prabhupada writes in multiple places, that these impersonalists or yogis, they cannot attain the result until they come in touch with bhakti. Without bhakti, there is no way. Even the impersonalists, there has to be a tinge of bhakti.
Right, okay.
Yeah, so that is why they are called bhakti yogi.
So, Mataji, the impersonalists can still go to Brahman without bhakti, no? No. Srila Prabhupada writes somewhere, I am not remembering that, there has to, I think 12th chapter Bhagavad Gita, there has to be a tinge of bhakti to get the result of impersonalist also actually. So bhakti towards him, Brahman, saying. Yes. That is the there supreme. Has to be, there has to be some bhakti. Okay, thank you, Mataji. Somewhere, I think it's somewhere in 12th chapter in some purport, Srila Prabhupada writes that there has to be a tinge of bhakti in order to attain the result of even the impersonalist practices. Okay, so this section is over. And
Mataji, I have one more question.
Yeah, Mataji. Yeah.
So this they said, these yogis, their life air is going by the eyes or nostrils, but they finally they said that there is auspicious if they go if the life air is going by from the head, right? But for the devotees, it's going from anywhere. That's okay, right?
Yeah. For devotee anywhere, because all this stuff is not for devotee, or not for a pure devotee. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So yogi, they do this practice just so they can do this life where is going from the head.
Yeah. For devotees, it is not like in Bhagavad Gita 18th chapter, Krishna tells, right? So there are certain times when the yogis should pass away if they in Uttarayan and Dakshinayan and
Yes,
and in the end, then he says, but for you, nothing to worry about because you are a devotee, right? Because a devotee is always thinking of Krishna, and Krishna says, if one remembers me at the time of death, they will come to me.
Right.
So it doesn't matter how and where and what all. So this section is over. Now 22 to 32 is karma or gradual liberation, basically. Karma mukti means how to be detached from the karma, and then gradual liberation. So let's see. Maybe we can read one verse and then we can chant for 10 minutes and then we will end by 8:30. Someone wants to read?
I can read. Go. Somebody else can read it.
Yeah, who is it? Someone said, I couldn't figure out who said.
Oh, it's me, Mataji.
Oh, okay. No, I can read.
No, Mother, Neha wanted to read. Mataji.
Okay, yeah, if Neha wants to read, go ahead.
Yeah.
Okay, we can't hear you if you are reading.
Unmute you.
22. Yadi.
Yadi
Prayasayan
paramishtyam
Vahayas
yasanum yad viharam ashtadhipatyam gunasinavaye sahare
Sanivaye. Yeah, go ahead.
sanivaye sahaiva gache manasendriyascha. Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada ki jai. However, O king, if a yogi maintains a desire for improved material enjoyments like transference to the topmost planet, Brahmalok, or the achievement of the eightfold perfections, travel in outer space with the Vahayasyas, or a situation in one of the millions of planets, then he has to take away with him the materially molded mind and senses. Not sure what it means. Has to take
then
away
he has to take away with him the material molded mind and senses. So basically, then he cannot go to Vaikuntha. He has to stop wherever, like he
okay.
Yeah.
To like in a planet somewhere else.
Yes.
Purport. In the upper status of the planetary systems, there are facilities thousands and thousands of times greater for material enjoyments than in the lower planetary systems. The topmost planetary system consists of planets like Brahmaloka and Dhruvaloka, the pole star, and all of them are situated beyond Maharloka. The inhabitants of those planets are empowered with eightfold achievements of mystic perfection. They don't have to learn and practice the mystic process of yoga perfection and achieve the power of becoming small like a particle, Anima Siddhi, or lighter than a soft feather, Laghima Siddhi. They don't have to get anything and everything from anywhere and everywhere, Prapti Siddhi. To become heavier than the heaviest, Mahima Siddhi. To act freely, even to create something wonderful, or to annihilate anything at will, Ishitva Siddhi. To control all material elements, Vashitava Siddhi. To possess such power as will never be frustrated in any desire, Prakamya Siddhi. Or to assume any shape or form one may even whimsically desires, Kama Vashyati Siddhi. All these experiences are as common as natural gifts for the inhabitants of those higher planets. They don't require any mechanical help to travel in outer space, and they can move and travel at will from one planet to any other planet within no time. The inhabitants of the earth cannot move even to the nearest planet except by mechanical vehicles like spacecraft. But the highly talented inhabitants of such higher planets can do everything very easily. Since the materialist is generally inquisitive to experience what is actually in such planetary systems, he wants to see everything personally. As inquisitive persons tour all over the world to gain direct local experience, the less intelligent transcendentalist similarly desires to have some experience of those planets about which he has heard so many wonderful things. The yogi can, however, easily fulfill his desire by going there with the present materialistic mind and senses. The prime inclination of the materialistic mind is to lord it over the material world. And all the siddhis mentioned above are features of the dominations over the world. The devotees of the Lord are not ambitious to dominate a false and temporary phenomenon. On the contrary, a devotee wants to be dominated by the supreme predominator, the Lord. A desire to serve the Lord, the supreme predominator, is spiritual or transcendental, and one has to attain this purification of the mind and the senses to get admission into the spiritual kingdom. With the materialistic mind, one can reach the best planet in the universe, but no one can enter into the kingdom of God. Senses are called spiritually purified when they are not involved in sense gratification. Senses require engagements, and when the senses are engaged totally in the transcendental loving service of the Lord, they have no chance to become contaminated by material infections. Hari
Hari,
Bol.
yeah, you want to say something?
Yeah. So basically, it is telling about like those people who have got like Ashtasiddhis, details about like how they can go to other planets, but with that material mindset, they can never reach to the Lord abode, which is like Golok Vrindavan. They can reach to other planets with no time, while the materialistic and even on earth, people like us, they are very inquisitive to experience about different planet system, like trying to go to moon or Mars and all that. But with our sense, with our body, we cannot do anything. But these transcendentalist yogis have so many mystic powers, but because their mind is materially contaminated and they're still about more of mystic powers, they cannot go to abode. While a devotee of the Lord, they are not falling for that false kind of temporary phenomenon. They are more happier to be under the service of Lord.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's it, Mataji.
So the basic point here is that if whoever that yogi practitioner is, if even like actually they have to pass through all these planetary systems, if one has tiny bit, just a little attraction for something, they have to stop there. They cannot go to the higher Vaikuntha planets or Goloka. So that is, so we have to really focus to not have any attraction, but just one. All right, so thank you, dear devotees, very much. So let's chant a little bit for the peace in Ukraine. So let us offer our heartfelt prayers to Srila Prabhupada, our acharyas, and Panch Tattva, Nrsingadev Bhagavan, Radha Madhava Sakis, Gaurnitai Krishna Balaram Radha Shyam Sundar. So to bring some peace in Ukraine, and may the hearts of envious people change to not harm others. All right, so Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Bhagavati Prabhu, you can end the light. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama,